For 17-year-old Valerie Tyndall is over following the discovery of a body.
Boss who lives nearby late last night. The sheriff's office confirmed it all this afternoon.
On the investigation into Valerie Tyndall's disappearance, it was determined that she disappeared when she was in his company.
Never got to tell her that.
She got a couple acceptance letters from college. Knew everything about it too, I'm sure.
I got you, bro. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, who I am, my name is Louis Quinangelo, and nice to meet every single one of you. I post videos regarding everything I want, such as self-improvement content, self-study English learning tips and tricks, my personal podcast episode, and true crime cases that I'm going to be uploading on my channel. So if you're interested in any of that, please do consider subscribing to my channel, or if not, I'm gonna smash you in the face.
Oh my gosh!
Just kidding. Don't take it seriously. I'm sorry. So, if not, chill. Okay, we gotta vibe and go, sit back, relax, grab your snack, grab your drinks, because we're going to be covering a case of Valerie Tyndall, which is certainly not easy to talk about since it involves a lot of disturbing things. And not only that, it also just happened very recently in 2023. So without further ado, let's get started. So we're gonna start off with a little bit about Valerie Tyndall. Valerie Tyndall was born on August 29, 2005 in Indianapolis, Indiana, the United States. She was a daughter of Jack Tyndall and Sheena Sandifer, and she had one brother and three sisters. She was a middle child. Sadly, she had experienced trauma at a very young age, so her mother, Sheena, decided to move from Indianapolis, Indiana to Arlington, which is quite outside of the city, where the population is like less than 300, so we could say that it is quite like sparsely populated area. And the entire family moved from Indianapolis to Arlington in hope of, like nurturing and growing their kids in small and safe community. But unfortunately, violence found the family, specifically Valerie. Valerie was being described as sweet, warm-hearted, and very lovely person. She loves animal, and her father in the media said that she wanted to become a vet when she grew up. And last summer, 2023 shaped Valerie Tyndall, and it had been the best summer that she had in her life. She turned 17 years old, and she just finished the junior year of high school at Rush Valley Consolidated High School. She has a strong work ethic, and she works at her neighbor's business, lawn mowing business, and her neighbor happens to be Patrick Scout, who is a 59-year-old lawn mowing company owner. I guess they met based off of proximity, right? So like neighbors become friends, which is not weird though, which is very understandable, I would say. According to the report, it is said that Valerie and Patrick were not just business relationship, they were more of like friends. And they were very close together. Valerie was even close with Patrick's granddaughter, and she had a huge and bright future ahead of her, but unfortunately, tragic had happened to Valerie on June 7, 2023. So, on June 7, 2023, which is summer in Arlington, obviously she wasn't in high school, Valerie asked her mom whether she could work at that day, and which is quite interesting is that day happened to be Wednesday, which means Valerie didn't typically work at Wednesday, and so did Patrick. When Valerie was out and about, her dad, Jack, described that she was being in a good mood and smiled, waved them, and drove off in her green Honda car. So it is stated that she left home at around noon. As times went by, she didn't come home, so Sheena, the mother, obviously got concerned and she dialed Patrick if she was with him, she was okay or not. So Patrick replied like she wasn't going to work at that day and she didn't even have planned to work at that day, which is shocking because Sheena, like I mentioned in the earlier, Valerie told her mother that she was gonna work with Patrick at that day, but it had never been the case. She presumed that, Valerie could possibly hang out with some boys or her friends, like teenagers. Being teenagers, she didn't immediately jump over to the worst case scenario, but unfortunately, it had never been the case. As time goes by, Valerie didn't come home. Eventually, the family dialed 911 and report the missing of Valerie Tinder on the following day, June 8, 2023. But guys, one thing that I want to say is that on June 7, 2023, which is the day that Valerie disappeared, Patrick and his wife came over to Valerie's family house and consoled them, and Patrick told them that she could possibly run away. The idea didn't add up because Sheena knew herself in her mother's heart that it was out of her daughter's character. And Sheena, the mother, stated that he acted like a jealous boyfriend and was tracking Valerie's trace, which is bizarre. But Valerie didn't see anything wrong with it. She eased her mother's concern. But 2 days later, the sheriff department, Indiana police station issues civil alert stating that Valerie was last seen on June 7, 2023 and at around 10 p.m. and she could be in extreme danger. Side note, in case you don't know what civil alert is. So civil alert basically is a public. So basically, civil alert is kind of like a public notification system in the United States to broadcast information about missing persons, especially like senior citizens, like elderly with some sort of like cognitive impaired person, if that makes sense, like Alzheimer's disease or dementia or other mental disability, in order to aid in locating them. So back to the story. So civil alert was declared by the Rush County Department. So since the civil alert was issued, people related to Valerie were questioned, and one is termed for Patrick. Patrick was questioned by the investigator, and he told investigator that he didn't see Valerie at all on June 7th, which is unbelievable. Because, like I said earlier, Valerie told her mother that she was gonna work with Patrick at that day, and Patrick replied like she didn't see her at all on June 7th. But it doesn't take any longer for investigator to figure out the fact that Patrick is lying, because a witness saw Valerie and Patrick driving off together in a Valerie's car. Hello guys, let me come here for a while. This is editor Lewis, because I just forget to mention one thing. So that one thing is that Patrick took Valerie to Newport Aquarium in Kansas, and the photo of two of them together alone at aquarium were found in the drawer of Valerie. But it is said that Valerie's parents knew that they did go together, but they was under the impressions of the fact that, she would go with Patrick's entire family. But if they had known that she would go out with Patrick, only two of them, they wouldn't have allowed her to go with him, if that makes sense. So, sorry for interruption. When he was confronted with that information, he changed his story. Side note, during the interrogation, if a person changed their story, it raised a huge red flag. It's like, what is the point of changing your story if you are truthful to yourself or to investigator or police? What is the point of altering your stories, right? It is 99.9% sure that that person who changed their story is trying to hide something behind their back. So back to the story, when he was confronted by this information, Patrick changed his story, saying that he went off with Valerie and dropped her off in Homer. He claimed that yes, they were together at the day and he dropped her off in Homer, and he claimed that he didn't see her again after that. He continued that they first met at South High Garden condominium in Cheville, and she asked him to drop her off in the Homer, and he claimed that she got into a pale blue car with an NO male and drive off in the direction of Rushville. What? So who is an NO male with a blue pale car? No one believes this story, so police proceeded to force him to tell the truth, change his story once again, like third time. So after they had met at that condominium, as I mentioned earlier, she got into his work truck and drove back to his place. He left Valerie at his house and went at work for the day, and when he came back home, she was gone. But that story was somewhat believable because phone record showed that the last location Valerie was in the Arlington area. Do you remember Arlington? Arlington is where Patrick and Valerie live. So when investigators asked him to give them a phone to check on the phone, Patrick gave his cell phone and allowed the investigator to check on it. So in his cell phone, police found the last message sent by Valerie at 11:23 a.m. The message reads, "I'll be there soon." So replies from Patrick reads, "Where are you at 2:46 p.m.? And once again, where are you at 5:40 p.m.? So in this time, it's quite confusing, right? But shortly after that, Sheener told the police and the public that Patrick's had her daughter Valerie's location shared with him on the Live 360 app, which means he was constantly checking on all traces of Valerie. So if he was checking on the locations of Valerie, why did he ask "Where are you?" twice in the message in the first place, right? If he had locations shares with Valerie, why he asked Valerie where she was 2 times? That is beyond suspicious, guys. But if you are the type of person who is into thriller or mystery, you can get the gist that Patrick is setting up alibi and not be arrested. Up to this point, police doesn't have enough evidence against Patrick to arrest. But Patrick had misled investigator with false information on several occasions. So he was charged with a misdemeanor of false informing by the end of June. So it brings us to October 11, where investigator finally able to do a search of Patrick's property and brought canver dogs with them. 4 dogs individually alert to the scent of human remains at the property's pond. Due to that, investigator decided to, do a search in the pond, but it turned up empty. When asked, the dog handler claimed that the wind carried the scent of remains and it landed where it did because water is good at capturing odor. When this investigator ordered a topography study of the property, which took place the following day with the help of helicopter. See if there were any disturbance in the area. So 7 weeks after the initial research, they conduct another search. And on Tuesday, November 28, 2023, local and federal agents converge on Patrick's property, focusing their efforts on a large dirt pile covered in miscellaneous debris. Okay, everyone, be prepared because this is trigger warning here. So it was there, buried under pounds of dirt, discovered 2 wooden boxes. The first box contains paperwork and VHS tapes, whereas the second box contains a bag wrapped in a plastic, and it happened to be a body of Valerie Tyndall. Because of an orange fingernail polish that she wore, it was immediately identified as the same polish that she was wearing in the social media post from the day that she disappeared. And which is more disturbing is that the place where that body is discovered is less than 100 yards from Valerie's family house. Patrick was immediately taken to Rush County Sheriff's Department when he actually made a full confession. So guys, Patrick confessed that he strangled Valerie with a belt that he had been wearing the entire day, even after killing a human being with that belt. I can even imagine it. A witness overheard Patrick talking to Valerie that he was going to take her out for lunch to Indianapolis. Do you remember that? Indianapolis is where Valerie got traumatized. But there is no evidence that indicate that it actually occurred.
And is it also true that somebody, a family friend, heard him say to her, hey, we're going to meet for lunch, or we're going to go for lunch on that day?
That was a girl who lived at the apartments that he worked at. They were there working that Wednesday, which he didn't work on Wednesdays. When I come home from work, I said, she doesn't work Wednesdays, and he said, yeah, I know. So we just kind of assumed she told a little white lie and went to see a friend or a boy or something like that, like teenage kids do. Well, later I called him because she was supposedly at work, and he says, no, she didn't work. Well, later we find out from multiple people that, that's not the case. His story kept changing, that he went from not seeing her from the day before to he had seen her that day to she had actually worked, and I found that out from the girl that worked at the apartment. Her mother actually reached out to me. She's 20 years old, and she had 2 kids, and she told her mom, apparently confided in her mom, because I'm sure she didn't know what to do as a 20-year-old kid. So after her mom had given me the information, I went and immediately emailed Smallwood, which was the lead detective, and let him know. Of course, it's the holidays, so he wasn't in.
To know that she was found practically in your own backyard, I mean,
It's devastating.
Do you know how hard
Mind-blowing.
that was for me?
Yeah, mind-blowing.
I want to go over there so bad.
So much. Every day.
But police record indicated that Patrick drove Valerie to his home at 12:59 a.m. Shortly after arriving home, Patrick started deleting apps on his phone. But one thing that Patrick didn't think or just forget to delete is his Apple Health app. So Apple Help Up ended up recording several significant help activities that occurred approximately at 1:35 p.m., but it hasn't been officially confirmed. And Patrick claimed that the reason why he strangled Valerie in the first place was that Valerie had threatened him to blackmail him into buying her a new car. So he continued to claim that she was gonna tell people that he seduced her and he wasn't gonna let that happen. So when he was asked that he had planned on killing Valerie, he said no, and he didn't even tell his wife or his family, quote, they don't know nothing about it. Okay, another disturbing thing is that he moved her body from his bedroom where he kept her the entire day to his office, and then the following day on June 8, he goes to Home Depot and buy Twix for the box that he made to put her body in. As for where he buried her body, Patrick said that the hole was already dug on his property where he was planning to put cement. So it is very suspicious that was it he planning to bury under the cement, premeditated, which is the first-degree murder? Who really knows? Furthermore, he got rid of her license plate and her keys by throwing them into a river. To this day, these items have not been found, and Patrick claimed that he didn't remember exactly which river that she ended up throwing these items away. But when he was asked in the press conference that whether he was bothered by the entire case, you know what he replied? Quote, I wasn't too crazy about that. Bro, what the fuck? What? It's disgusting. You are basically killing a human being, dude. So the press conference was occur on November 29, and Valerie's mother and father were interviewed by the media.
We have been working tirelessly on this case since its inception.
She was going to go to college. She was accepted, and now she'll never have a chance.
This is not the outcome we had all hoped for. Justice will be sought for Valerie.
And we start first at 4 with a tragic breaking news update. After 6 months of searching, investigators in Rush County say the search for 17-year-old Valerie Tyndall is over following the discovery of a body. Thanks for joining us. I'm Aaliyah Blackburn.
And I'm Nick McGill. Now, we first told you about a renewed search for Valerie yesterday and broke the news of an arrest of her boss who lives nearby late last night. The sheriff's office confirmed it all this afternoon. Now, Fox 39's Russ McQuaid was the only reporter to join the federal search in Arlington yesterday. He joins us live now with new details. Russ.
And good afternoon, Nick. It was just 2 hours ago the sheriff of Rush County, that would be Alan Rice, briefed us. I pressed him for answers on the investigation into Valerie Tyndale's disappearance. You know, she was just 17 years old last summer. She would often go to work doing landscaping with her neighbor and her boss, 58-year-old Patrick Scott. And then it was determined that she disappeared when she was in his company at a Shelbyville apartment complex when he offered to take her to lunch. Scott together the day she disappeared. This is a photograph of Valerie Tyndall and Patrick Scott, who was 40 years her senior. Tuesday after Valerie's mom told investigators that a woman in Shelbyville told her she had seen Valerie and Scott together the day she disappeared. FBI agents, state troopers, and Rush County Sheriff's deputies were out at Scott's house, which sits about 100 yards away from where Valerie and her parents lived. A source told me that late Tuesday afternoon, investigators recovered human remains from inside a barrel buried under a pile of rubble from a garage Scott tore down a month after the girl disappeared. And Scott was arrested and charged with murder after he watched investigators search his property, specifically the rubble pile out back where the body was discovered.
Process of it, he was interviewed and then they were not on site.
And one things that I feel like I put in this video is that shortly after Valerie vanished, our sister and her brother-in-law saw Patrick burning down the garage where the dead body was discovered.
And is it true that you, at one time after Valerie disappeared, you saw him taking down his shed in the middle of the night?
I did not. My son-in-law and my daughter witnessed him doing that at 2 a.m.
And neighbors.
I had somebody else verify it was 2 a.m. and I said, how do you know that? And she said, I video recorded it.
So Patrick was arrested on November 28, 2023 and charged with murder after human remains were found on his property. There are a lot of unanswered questions out there, right? And we don't exactly know the background of, Patrick Scout and So that is all for today, guys. Justice will be served as quickly as possible for the victim and the victim's family. And that is the end of the today case. So if you enjoy, please do consider subscribing to my channel and hit the like button. I said earlier, I'm not gonna punch you in the face, and I love you guys. I love you so much. So please look forward to another true crime case, okay? So see you guys. Bye.